promise to do two things, okay? One, I'm going to be less drunk than Jacqueline Bisset last night and hopefully more focused than McConaughey. So that's all I can promise. But so last year, this is my a familiar place for me because last year I shared this stage with a close friend of mine, a former Marine, who is the Chief Operating Officer for J. Walter Thompson Atlanta. And on the stage, we spoke about our work collectively at my company, SocialSphere, and at JWT with the Marine Corps Recruiting Command, talking about how we helped reposition one of America's most enduring brands. But this year, I'm going to speak about something that's even more near and dear to my heart. I'm going to talk about Boston. And normally, in a situation like this, I'll stand up here, I'll talk about my qualifications, I'll talk about the Harvard Post, I'll talk about being from SocialSphere and an Eisenhower Fellow or board member, et cetera. But this year, my qualifications are even more simple. You know, I was born here, right? Born not in Boston, but a couple miles down the road in the other city of champions in Brockton. I live in Concord now, and I work in Cambridge. I started a company that I don't think could exist anywhere else. You know, I've seen Boston through the struggles of the 70s. I'm not talking about my friend's plaid pants there. It's a hub of innovation and creativity that it is today. It was just a city of New England when I was a kid, and today it's literally one of the great cities in the world. You know, and I've been fortunate to travel around the world over the last couple of years. From the North End, I actually spent a day in North Korea, and wherever you go, whenever you say from Boston, and you guys know what I'm talking about, you get this kind of familiar smile, and folks say, "I love Boston." It's something that happens wherever you travel around the world, and it's so comforting. But I'd argue that's not by surprise, okay? And nothing, I don't think, epitomizes Boston and who we are. I'm not paid. This is a surprise, so the Duncan folks are going to present this later. Nothing really epitomizes Boston more than that chain of coffee shops that most of us grew up with on the South Shore, Dunkin' Donuts. You know, in overall lifetimes, it's transformed, what I think, to be one of the great global brands while still managing to be true to its essence. It's our brand still. And it's the same way, I think Boston has transformed itself into a global player on a variety of levels, in a variety of fields, but at its core, it still remains our city. You know, everyone is proud of their hometown. They think theirs is the best, but here, I'd argue we can make it with facts. Right? I put a couple of facts up there behind me. Our GDP is almost $350 billion a year. Okay, that's greater than all but 8 U.S. cities, greater than Venezuela, Hong Kong, Singapore, Portugal, and a host of other countries. Okay? We're the 4th youngest city, not just based on kind of our real demographics, but based on our real health and how healthy we are, and argue that isn't just about your physical health, but also the way in which we think about and perceive the rest of the world. Number 3, and this wasn't always the case, we're the 2nd hottest startup market in the country. You know, just 10 years ago, Austin, Texas, and the Research Triangle would have been ahead of us, but that's no longer the case. And Bleacher Report reported that Boston was the #1, no surprise to anybody here, but the #1 sports city in America. And they actually voted us #1 well before the Bruins won in 2011 and the Red Sox won just a couple of months ago. But none of this was by accident. And what I want to do now is share with you 5 reasons why I think Boston is and will remain the hub. Number 1, we are the home away from home for founders, tastemakers, geniuses, and generals. Okay? So whether you're born here or lucky enough to spend some of the best parts of your life at one of our universities, Boston is not only home to literally dozens and dozens of Nobel Prize winners, but did you know the 2 ranking generals in Afghanistan, born and raised in Boston? Multiple candidates for president from both parties, born here or spent a good part of their professional or educational lives here in Boston. The last 2 mayors of New York City, we all know, are from Boston. Half of the TV show The Office, I think, is from Boston. Literally, right? Entrepreneurs and founders of some game-changing technology companies, from Microsoft to Facebook to Dropbox, and hopefully SocialSphere will be known as from Boston. And the network talking heads, I was struck this morning, you know, Morning Joe to Matt Lauer to George Stephanopoulos, from the morning to the end of the night with Conan and Leno and a lot of other guys who made their bones in Boston, you can hardly escape these people. They're literally, I think, kind of the spokes in the hub who help connect us to the rest of the world. Saying you're from Boston, from where we sit as marketers and as branders and as strategists, it gives you some instant credibility for your idea, your brand, your product, your company. And I think our diaspora is the number one reason we'll remain the hub. Second, it's a subject that's a significant part of my research at the Harvard Kennedy School is we are, in many ways, America's millennial laboratory. Every year, we're blessed, I'd say. We're blessed, based upon where you live, to welcome hundreds of thousands of new people into our city, into our region, every single year. And for the last dozen years, this segment of the population have been called millennials, several of them here. And for the next couple of years, more, we'll still refer to them as millennials. Millennials born between 1980 and 2000 represent 1/3 of the world's population, 25% of the American population. It's the largest generation in the history of America. There are more of them, or you, than us, Gen Xers. And they've already changed the world as we know it. So many of us are on Facebook and Twitter because of millennials. We express ourselves through text and Snapchat because of millennials. Whether we like it or not, most all of us and our neighbors and friends will have health care because of the millennial support for Barack Obama in 2008 in the Iowa caucus. If not for literally a few thousand millennials in 2008 in Iowa, I can guarantee you that Hillary Clinton would be president today. And you may have noticed, it's great timing, yesterday, front page of the Globe, Matt Visor focused on a piece of research that we did recently at the Institute of Politics at Harvard, where he talked about the growing dissatisfaction that millennials have had with Barack Obama's presidency. All of his approval ratings, generally and specifically, kind of below 50, in some cases in the high 30s. And it's not because young people or millennials are fickle, it's because they care so deeply about making their community and their country better every single day. And they're making a difference in lots of ways that we'll learn about, I think, over the next couple of hours. Most specifically, they make a difference for our economy. Millennials, who not all of them are of the age of 18 yet, represent $1 trillion in economic spending every single year in the United States. And don't forget about it. Most of us work with them, or in some cases for them. And I think if we listen to them and we engage with them on college campuses and our workplaces, we'll be better for it. Boston realized this before most other cities, and we're better for it. And millennials are the second reason we'll remain the hub. Number 3. We are social, online and offline. One of the things we do at my office at SocialSphere is we measure opinions, passions, influencers for the products and issues that our clients and brands care most about. And one thing we all know about Boston is we have plenty of opinions. Mark Twain said over 100 years ago, he looks forward to playing Boston because he's always in front of a crowd of 400 critics, right? And when we did another survey, we realized that even young people in the Northeast and Massachusetts in particular are more likely to be online than young people in other parts of the country. So we are just social, online, and offline. When we did a study, we compared the Red Sox chatter online to Cardinals chatter during the World Series. Red Sox fans created twice as much content as St. Louis fans. We did a similar study when the Pope was elected by the College of Cardinals. People in Massachusetts created twice as much social content as people in the other much more Catholic states like Illinois, Rhode Island, New Jersey, etc. It's this need to engage, to share, to comment, critique, not only dedicated to our online lives, is the way we live every day. Ad Club is a great example of this. We move around. We know our neighbors, our colleagues in other industries, which is important because we're so close. The Seaport's a great example of this, right? We have startups, financial institutions, agencies, galleries, restaurants, all within not just a few hundred yards of each other, a few hundred feet of each other. So this connectedness, this enthusiasm, this desire to share our opinions, and all the good news is a third reason we'll remain the hub. Number 4, we are not a one company, and we are not a one industry town. We are the best across, think about it, we're the best across multiple disciplines, which means there's a constant flow of new ideas in collaboration. No disrespect to New York, to Washington, to LA, but we're diverse, and we're better for it. In Boston, we lead in biotech, we lead in healthcare, defense, retail, finance, technology, sporting goods, coffee. We now lead in beer. We now lead in spirits, thanks to Bully Boy. Even our lottery is #1 by a mile. Seriously, more people win more money in Massachusetts than any other state in America. At SocialSphere, our new CTO is from a biotech company. Our client manager is from the Army. My co-founder is from Harvard. I don't think there's anywhere else in the country where we could have a diversity of ideas like this at a small company in Cambridge, and it's because of all the inspiration from the companies on the map behind me. So that's the fourth reason I think will remain the hub. There's always inspiration to be found. Number 5, you mentioned it, Kathy, the home of the first public school. We value education from kindergarten through graduate school. And that's one of the things I'm most grateful for in terms of as a citizen of our state, this commitment to education that so many of our citizens and our elected officials have. That's one of the better examples of government impacting everyone's life. We're #1 in 4th grade and 8th grade reading. We're #1 in the country in 9th grade math. U.S. News and World Report just did a study of high schools. We're top 10, we're #6 currently. And we all know that when you pick up almost any college magazine or brochure, there's just a handful of top 10 colleges, whether you're looking at national universities or small liberal arts colleges that are kind of based in and around Boston, certainly within a 3-hour drive, 3 hour and 15 minutes. My daughter just got selected at one of them. That not only means it's a terrific place to work, raise a family, invest in a home, but it's also one of the better places in the world to attract talent and solve problems, big and small, in any field. Commitment to education is the 5th reason will remain the hub, and almost any company or brand can be created and prosper here. But this commitment to education means that while we're always focused on making today better, we're also making a perpetual investment in our future. So we are, in many ways, a timeless city upon a hill that JFK talked about, referred to 53 years ago last week, in 1961, when he was bidding farewell to Massachusetts on his way to the White House. Because we're looked upon for guidance, we're looking toward the future, where it's around the corner, inspiring everybody to be the leaders of the future. We're a city of pilgrims, most literally, entrepreneurs, students, artists, and builders. I'm looking forward, I met a couple of folks in the back room earlier, and I'm looking forward to learning more about our future from the other presenters today. And we know that wherever we go, okay, to wrap up, wherever we go, we're welcomed because we're from Boston, personally, but also I think through the ideas and the brands that we represent. We'll stay forever young, tracking and keeping in touch with our college students and young people. We're small, we're social. There's always someone offering you advice or a hand. Our education is second to none. And you can find inspiration and mentorship in any industry you choose. And oftentimes, millennials will choose multiple industries over the long arc of a career. And I wish I had that one word or phrase to describe the essence of Boston. And I was thinking about this, and with all due respect to all of our good friend Mike Sheehan, most deserving Ad Club legend, awarded him that this past summertime, and one of the best copywriters this town, perhaps this world, has ever known. I think the guy who summed it up best, maybe the best copywriter living in Boston today, isn't Mike, but it's this guy, right? Big Papi, David Ortiz. When the city was down, he summed it up and said, Boston, this is our fucking city. So thank you very much.